All right, here we go. Welcome to Recovery Unfiltered. I'm Larry. I'm an alcoholic.
You sit on the toilet, don't you? Use that as your meditation.
I'm Rob. I'm also an alcoholic. Not our wives. Nobody listening to this podcast has eaten a shit sandwich. They didn't have a hand in making it.
Hey, welcome back, Rob.
Welcome back, Larry. We got to get rid of that O.
I can't. I tried.
Oh, you tried?
Fucking Brad.
Then I'll recut it.
We can.
Because that's the best part.
It really is.
You didn't have a hand in making.
But you listen. I got to mute my mic because every time you say "oh," I don't mind it. But Brad's like, "No, goddamn it, Larry, you got to get rid of that." But he's right. It does have. But I tried to get it out of there. But for me to get it out of there, I'd had to like cut out your words, and it would because it's behind your words.
We'll just reshoot it.
Yeah, because I already went out of the multi-track and put it in on a single track. Anyways, welcome back. I'm Larry. Guess what? We're not affiliated with shit.
Yeah, if there's letters after it, we don't got nothing to do with that shit. A CA PhD. What is it? LSD. TSD.
STD.
Wait, what is that one?
STD?
No, TDS.
Fuck, I don't know. I was making
Trump derangement syndrome. I've heard. I don't know. My wife's because I'm not on. So everybody knows I'm not on social media, TikTok, Facebook. I've never been on that kind of stuff.
We're gonna get you on there.
So she's
you're missing some good shit.
She's like, hey, honey, look at it's crazy. So there's a new syndrome coming out. I guess I don't know.
Oh, that's too funny. Anyways, welcome back, Rob. We've had some good ones. You and I just sitting here. You know what? I enjoy these, and the interviews are fun, and I enjoy doing the interviews because we learn, and I think our audience. But there's so many times that even when I listen to, and everybody gives me shit because they say, "Oh, Larry just likes to listen to himself," and no, I don't. I do. But I like to listen to entertaining shit. And when you and me and Brad were in here, we did 2 episodes together. That was fun. You know, we were supposed to have a third one with Dawson, but he was not feeling well whatsoever when he got here.
Sponsored by Dramamine.
That's
for you,
wait?
Dawson.
You are a premature ejaculator, dude. You can't wait.
Again, that was my 4-step shit. You can't be blurting that out. Anonymity, goddammit.
Yeah, so Dawson got here when we actually recorded twice back to back just to have an extra one in the hopper.
And that was Brad's idea. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah, that was, thank God it bailed us out. Otherwise, we'd have been recorded during the week. And when Dawson got here, he had a vertigo so bad he came upstairs to the studio, and I was afraid to take him back downstairs.
Well, that's what you took off to the store, got Dramamine for him because he usually keeps it with him, but didn't have it.
Right. So he sat up here for the longest time with his eyes closed. And God love you, Dawson. We love you. We're gonna have you back.
He'll be back.
He will. I'm excited to have him here. We got a few other people, but we're gonna start backing off on some of the interviews. Not backing off. You know, for a while here, I've been out searching, and Rob's been searching. You know, we keep wanting to have interviews back to back to back, and I like those and I enjoy them, but I also the conversations that we have, I think, are very enlightening to people because like today, I got a few topics I want to go over, and sometimes we go down a rabbit hole that is healthy, right? They're healthy rabbit holes.
I love rabbit holes.
Right. I mean, they're not
rabbit trails, holes, whatever you go about.
They're
See,
not.
because now at Tuesday Night Men's Bible, I was talking to Steve today, the pastor. We're at church this morning. And because we missed Tuesday's Bible studies because he was sick.
Okay.
Brother John was sick, who leads it. And so he goes, yeah, we're back. You know, we're all feeling better, good. And he goes, you know, because I know where we're going. Right now we're in 1 Samuel. So he goes, you ready? And I said, buddy, I got 3 rabbit hole trails. We're going down. And because I get us off on a tangent, because you've got Bible reading.
Right.
And you've got Bible study.
The study is the fun part.
Yeah. Get into, just like Big Book.
Yeah, right. That's
like what we're about to do. Get into Sunday.
Right. I mean, I got some stuff that, you know, this last.
And again, I don't know where you're going, and I like to come in green, so I could just
do. And I mean, you have a little bit of an idea where I'm going because I've had pretty much that, you know. And
let's talk about Chris a little bit because what just happened.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going, and I'm going to do my best because I you know, he has a very soft spot. I have a soft spot for where he's going and where I see, you know, and I say this all the time, and I tell people I get joy out of life when I see people, the light come on, right? Because I remember the joy I had when my light came on, right? When I saw that depression, that that, oh my God, there's something better than this.
Hope.
The hope.
When you feel hope.
When
you don't read it in the book.
Right.
You don't see it in the movie. When you feel that in your own
and you see
spirit.
it in somebody's face, and you see them struggling, but you know that struggle is getting them somewhere, right? When you see somebody struggle and they're not getting anywhere, that's frustrating to watch. But when you see somebody struggling, but they're actually gaining ground and getting further and further, but they're having to fucking work for it, right? Just having to fucking work.
Well, it's not going to come.
And check this out, right? And I say this all the time. When you hand somebody something, they don't cherish it. They don't appreciate it.
No.
They don't even know where it fucking
I didn't.
They don't even know where it fucking came from.
Right.
It just landed in their fucking lap. Right. And when you see somebody work like we have, and like, several men around us, and what I'm watching Chris go through and what I'm watching other people go through, and when I see them struggling, but in amongst that struggle, right? Oh, the joy comes, right? You see that smile in their face, and God, it's so precious. So, yeah, I was over last week in the motorhome, and I had read some stuff and read a few things, and because I knew that it was getting close, because we dropped Chris off at Maynard's, and it was getting close to him.
You did,
huh?
You dropped him off.
We did. We dropped him off at. Leave me out of it.
No.
We dropped him off at Maynard's to get healthy, and on Wednesday to grow him a little bit more. And on Wednesday, he called me like 9:30 at night. I'm like, oh shit. And I'm all the way over, I'm all the way over on the coast. I'm 4 hours away from him. And I get on the phone and I hear this, Larry. Yes. I love when he says my name because for as long as he didn't know what it was, right. Because his memory, because the dementia he had from alcohol, right, and because his memory has gotten so good, and it makes me so happy. He goes, Larry, you're not going to believe this. I go, what, Chris? What's going on? And he goes, you know that pink cloud everybody talks about? And I go, yeah, I'm on it. And I go, you're on it. And I go, okay, tell me a little bit about this. He goes, Larry, I just starting to feel a light, and I don't want to ruin that. I don't want anything to ruin this. And I go, okay, let's talk about it. He says, I want to go home. I'm like, whoa. Hold on a second, bud. You that place you're in got you onto this pink cloud, and now you want to throw it behind you and just leave it. I go, really? He goes, yeah. Can you come pick me up tomorrow? And I go, Chris, I will be there Friday. And we will sit and we'll talk about it. All right. I said, in the meantime, keep working.
Stay on that cloud.
Stay on it, brother.
If something knocks you off, climb back on that.
If it knocks you off, it's probably because something you did.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Climb back on.
Climb back on it. If you fucking fall off that pink cloud, it's something you fucking did. Ain't nobody else.
Right on.
And so anyways, he hung up, and I got up there Friday. About 10 o'clock, and I walked in, and he was just finishing breakfast, and we went out there, and I go, so what's going on? He goes, I just feel like I can leave and blah, blah, blah. And we talked about it for a little bit. I go, Chris, you got 4 days left in here. You got 4 to 5 days left in here. Hang out, brother. Hang out. And my motive was this, right? I'm going to be out of town again this week until Thursday, when I was planning on being back in town on Thursday for when he got out. And then we're giving me 4 or 5 days to get some stuff set up to make sure he got the meeting, start going through some stuff. I almost forgot about a very important part here. And then, so that was my intentions. And I got to be to Arizona for a week. And then we're sitting there talking. And I said, when we get out, we're going to get you working. And I said, and here comes the tear works. And I apologize, but I said, remember, when we get out of here, we got to find you a sponsor, because remember, I've told you and about that time that was getting ready to fall out of my mouth. When I've said this on the podcast before, that I don't sponsor. I'm not a sponsor. I'm horrible. Unless God hits me over the head with it, I'm not going to. As those words started to come out of my mouth, a heaviness came over me, and I just started crying. I said, you know what, Chris? I'm going to sponsor you. And he started crying. He was like, God, I was hoping you would do this. And I go, we're going to walk through this together, bud. I'm not going to let you go. And so he said, okay, I'll stay. He goes, I'll stay. So I left and we spent some more time together, had some breakfast. And then I got home, and then later on that night, I got another phone call. He goes, oh, it's from the administrator up there. And she said, Larry, he's adamant about going home. I'm like, all right. I said, just let him know I'll be up there at 7:30 in the morning. I go, do you mind if I come pick him up at 7:30? She goes, no, not at all. So I said, all right. And on the way yesterday morning, this was Friday, yesterday morning, I got up and, my intention was to go up there, and I sat, and I didn't know really what was going to happen, right? We needed sober living. I mean, everything that we kind of gotten planned, it just got cut short. And so when yesterday morning, when I got up and I was doing my prayers and stuff, I was like, he's going to have to go home sooner or later, right? Sooner or later, whether he's in sober living for 6 months, 2 months, 1 month, eventually he's going to have to go home. His memory is good. It's solid. I don't have any problem with him. He remembers he's an alcoholic every day. That was a key thing for me. So he's remembering that, and he's doing very, very well. He remembers conversations that we had. He's remembering tons of stuff. Every once in a while, he's got a 10-second Tom moment, but for the most part, he's doing very well. So yesterday morning, I was up there at 7:30, and I come walking in, and he's sitting on the edge of the bed, and he goes, I'm not going home. And I go, hold on a second, dude. And as I walked in, he didn't know this. As I walked in, the lady that was running the counselor, she goes, Larry, I'm just telling you, they're not going to let him stay. They're not going to let him stay. I go, okay. So I went and sat down, and he hadn't really packed up. And he says, Larry, I never quit anything in my life. And I go, Chris, you think leaving here is quitting? And he goes, yeah, it's just, I go, I said, last night you said to me that what's another 4 days going to do here that I can't accomplish at home? And you stumped me. I didn't have an answer for that. I gave into that and said, he's right. Let's get him home. Let's get him started on the steps. Let's get him. He's been sober since June 30th.
Let's go.
It's not. I said, so in my mind, I'm like, okay. And yesterday morning when I was in my meditation and my praying, God just said, take him home. And I did. And then he's got.
I did get a call at 6 o'clock in the morning, though.
That was from me, fool.
That was from you.
Yeah, I'm getting there. And then and then God laid something else on my heart. He said, take him to see his sister. And his sister is struggling with alcohol as well. And it's his best friend.
She's not struggling. She's done good.
No, you're right. And God just said, take him to visit his sister. And I'm like, now the full fear effect is inside me, right?
Yes, it was.
Because do I deny what God's telling me to do and do the softer, easier way? Or do I absolutely follow what I felt like what God laid on my heart? And I'm like, okay, well, fuck, I was scared to death. Right. And
of what? What was scaring you?
I didn't know how. So, for me, I'm a control freak, not a control freak. I want to pave a road for
That's
everything.
my job.
Right.
I'm the asphalt man.
Right. I dig. But for me, I want to pave the road, the softest, smoothest road for Chris. Right. I want that, but that's who I am. I want him to be successful. And in my mind, in my plans, this is what it was going to take to make him successful.
Whose plans?
Mine. I just said it, fucker. I'm getting there.
I got you. Go ahead. I'm just trying to get you there.
I'm getting. And in my plans, this was the way I'd kind of worked out. Well, God upset that and very quickly.
Because if you want to make God laugh, what do?
Tell him your plans.
That's right.
So when I had these plans in my head, and as I was praying yesterday morning, God said, no, that's not the way it's going to happen. This is the way it's going to happen. So I was sitting up there yesterday with him, and he was trying to convince me to stay. God already laid it on my heart. He's going home, right?
And they already told you he ain't staying.
Right. Well, I hadn't really, correct, and I hadn't told him that.
Right.
But I was letting him play this out in his head, and we went back and forth, and finally the counselor come in and said, Chris, they're not going to let you stay. And I said, And he goes, so now I'm not quitting. Now I'm getting kicked out. I go,
well, wherever you want to say it,
I go,
get in the fucking car.
I go, Chris, whatever you do, whatever, however you want to say it, for me, quitting is if you picked up a fucking drink.
That's right.
I don't give a shit where you're at, what you're doing. This shit right here, the other memory plate, wherever you're at, none of that's quitting. Pick up a drink.
That's quitting.
That's quitting. Mm-hmm. And he goes, okay. All right. So I said, let's go to breakfast. So we ended up going to breakfast and he kind of calmed down. And then I go, and by the way, we're taking you to see your sister. And he goes, what? I go, yep. I want you to go see your sister. God laid this on my heart this morning. I think too positive. I can stop saying
and what did he see? What did you see?
So I said, Chris, I said, I feel you seeing your sister in the shape she's in and her seeing you can be healthy for the both of you, right? I pray and God's laid it on my heart that she sees you and wants to be you. And then you see her and see what you don't want to be again. Right. That's what God pretty much laid on my heart. And we got there. It was a disaster. It was a disaster.
How so?
She's just a mess. I mean, I'm not going to go into details on it, but I mean, she's bad. I mean, she's bad. She answered the door with her eyes, her glasses crooked. It was bad. And,
just alcoholic. Is what you're saying.
Just pure alcoholic. And then, her husband's there. Her poor husband's struggling with her, and
isn't he one?
No.
It's a different husband.
No, yeah, different.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
no, not at all. And so it's a bad situation, and then Chris was talking to her, and she wanted nothing to do with us, nothing.
Of
right?
course not.
And
she wants her drinking partner back. Is what she wants.
Yeah. And Chris was trying to, in a roundabout way, tell her that I want you sober, because otherwise I can't have you in my life. Right.
That's right.
That's basically what Chris was trying to say, and he couldn't get it out. So I ended up saying, Chris, do you mind if I talk? Right. And then I sat there and tried to explain it to her in another way. And then she kind of got ugly with me a little bit. And here's where God has changed me so much is I was able to bite my tongue, because I wanted to say, you miserable fucking wench, look in a fucking mirror. Right. Because she's sitting over there trying to tell me how much her rehab did for her. It's her 6 months rehab. Yeah. How well her 6 months rehab.
And while she's sitting there drunk,
just destroyed. And I just wanted to say, how'd that fucking rehab work for you? And, and because
you probably should have, because her husband,
I did. You know what? Here's the thing about it, Rob.
You're right.
Here's the thing about it. I was there for Chris.
That's right.
1000% Chris. If I wanted to do a 12-step on her, they can invite me back and I'll bring some ladies with me. We'll do a 12-step on her if the sisters and the families ask me to, right? Her husband has my name and contact information, and he knows damn good and well I would be back there in a heartbeat, because for that to be able to happen would be amazing for Chris. And I want nothing in this world except for what's going to benefit him, right? What helps him stay sober. It's just watch where we started with him. You, me, and Brad started with him a few months back to where he's at now. But
you've really put in a lot of work.
Well,
wait, hold on.
Okay.
Stop. And here's the deal. Why we do it. Because you have, Brandon's on fire right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Things like that go on.
Yeah.
That's why you do it. You get to see the light come on, like you said,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I would not get, if I said, Brandon, I can't sponsor you right now. I got too much. It would be a lie. I had a lot of, God keeps me very busy.
Right.
And I'm not going to get drunk if I don't sponsor anybody. If the next which I'm going to sponsor, because that's my gift that God has given me. However, I'm not going to get drunk if I don't. You're not going to get drunk if you help Chris. The reason we do it, and another is the joy.
Oh yeah.
And right here, if an alcoholic, this is on page, page 1450. Mm-hmm. The bottom of page, the last sentence on page 14. Mm-hmm. For if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. If he did not work, he surely would drink and drink again. He would die. So what does that mean? The reason, again, this is where people talk about AA being self-serving. To a point it is, but there's the lowest points of like cancer. They're going to show up. Death of a family member.
Right.
Those low points, those spots that hit us in the heart are going to show up. In the spiritual growth that we get through what? Not sitting on our knees in a corner. Now, I'm not saying that, again, I'm not cracking on prayer and meditation. I do it every day.
Right.
However, that is not where your spiritual growth comes from. Your spiritual growth comes from work and self-sacrifice for others.
1,000%.
That's where you grow spiritually. And that's when cancer does come and kick you in the nuts.
Right.
You bury a child or a loved one, whatever. That's what's going to bolster you. Right. That relationship you have with God, that strength you had that you've built through action.
Yep.
You're not going to get...
No, the blessings and the rewards.
And don't get me wrong, it's equally painful when you pour yourself into another human being.
Oh,
and you do that, then they go, it pisses you off a little bit,
family.
And it breaks your
my
heart.
Family. My daughters and my wife. My daughters and my wife, they worry about that for me because.
But my point is, but you're not going to drink over that. It's something like they don't understand.
They don't want to see my pain. Yeah, they know it'd be painful for me,
and they don't understand that because they also think, well, is he going to drink over it? No, you won't drink over it.
God no.
It should be painful because we didn't allow ourselves to feel shit.
No.
And until my guilt, shame, fear, remorse started to swim in Jack Daniels, and the Jack Daniels wasn't doing the work, that's when I began to feel. And then when all that stuff came back, then we feel. But now we feel very deeply, and it's a good thing.
Yep.
But shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear no bullshit. Because remember, I know you're worried about keeping your humility in check. If I need to keep your ego in check, if I need to fold your clothes with you in them, just to keep you, because this little 5'7" guy, you know what happened. You know what fucking happened. I'll do it. What you have done for this man is this. Me and Brad sat in a few times and stuff, and I'll go to the meeting tonight. But you took it, I've taken this man, and I saw the sponsor thing coming. I didn't want to say nothing. It is right.
I kind of thought in my mind that it was eventually going to come up, and when I said God's going to have to hit me over the head, I knew. I just kind of knew that this was going to have to happen because nobody else has spent the time with him that I have. Nobody knows him. I don't know if he'd be comfortable. Even with Tom, who's was with today. I don't even know. I don't know. Anyway, so we started the steps yesterday, but going back to what you said a minute ago, when I left here yesterday, I yesterday morning to go get him, I hugged on my wife, and when I say I was scared, I was fucking petrified.
I know.
Petrified. I didn't know what the fuck was going to expect to bring him home. Because I kind of made plans to bring him home, take him grocery shopping. I had these and I was scared and taking him to see his sister. And I felt alone is what I did. I felt extremely alone when I left here, and I called you and I was just fuck. And I said, what did I say? I don't normally call my sponsor for this shit.
But I need you right now.
I needed you. Yeah. I needed that assurance that I was doing the right thing, that I was not, stepping out, because I worry about that all the time. I got very selfish tendencies, right?
Which ties into where we're going to go.
Right. I got extremely selfish tendencies to self promote myself sometimes. And, we talked about
you're human.
Yeah, I'm human, and we talk about it as a joke that I like to listen to myself talk, and it is what it is. That's my personality. But when it comes to another human being's life, I don't want to self-promote. I don't want to be that, right? And I was so scared to death that if something was coming up, that if I didn't want to be doing something just to self-promote myself and to make myself.
You second guess yourself quite a bit, but that's where you are in your spiritual growth.
Yeah.
And that's normal,
right? Where
you're at. It's a good thing.
So yeah, it's he's talked to him this morning, doing very well. And I don't want this to turn into a saga of Chris, but but these are the things we go through. And when I was talking to his sister yesterday, the best part about that, when I talked to another one of his sisters today, I go, hey, how did so-and-so feel about our meeting yesterday? She goes, Larry, she has no memory of you being there. Zero memory of you being there. And I'm like, wow. Okay. All right. Okay. And which is sad.
But the sad thing is the husband does.
Right.
And he's beside himself, and just,
It's extremely sad. I mean,
he needs to be offered some help. If you, I mean,
you know what? I told George, God bless it. That's
will you cut that shit out?
I told him yesterday, I go, you ever need somebody to talk to, call me. I wanted to make sure he had my phone number. I go,
and that is the program because it
Right.
talks about, as the family lived
right.
the program.
And
We
I
offer
said,
it to him.
if I can't figure out what to do to help you, hey, and this guy's he's a Harvard, very, very, one of the things I talked about yesterday and amongst this is that intellectual people are some of the hardest people to get sober.
Oh, hey, my sponsor, you told us he's in that, my first sponsors, I'm sorry,
Right.
Jay, has told this story, and he sat, and I didn't, it took me a year and a half. He sat down with me and he said, Rob, I've known a lot of men that are too smart
to get this
program.
Oh, for sure.
But he looked at me in the eye and he said, son, because that's what he calls me.
You're going to get it very well.
He said, I've never known anybody too dumb to get it. And then we sat there, it was like an awkward pause. And he said, what I'm telling you, son, you got a chance. So a year and a half later, as I'm working with the guys, I call him up one day and said, you son of a bitch. And I never called Jay that. And I go, and then I brought up that story. I brought up that story. I said, you were making fun of me.
That's some funny shit. So yeah, I mean, it was,
hey, you will find people like the lawyer buddy we had talked about, me and Jason, who's coming who was too smart to get it.
Oh yeah.
And he's dead now.
Yeah, it's
going to outthink this thing, aren't you?
And you know what? That's the part that scares me about Chris, and I've seen it with Chris. Is that he's very, very he's an intelligent human being.
He's very smart.
Very smart. I mean, he's owned a big business. He owns homes. I mean, he's very, very intellectually smart, and he tries to overthink this shit. Right?
Even us.
Oh, I still do it.
Even me, dumber than duck shit. Sometimes I try to outthink myself, and I get I get in trouble.
Right. So let's move on past that.
Okay, where are we going?
So I read something the other morning.
By the way, hold on, stop.
What? Stop.
Me. Okay, Larry's got his printouts going. He's got all his notes over there. I got never prepared.
Well,
but I want to tell the audience this: if you don't know, I'm gonna just. I came up here. And Larry talks about he doesn't like to hear his own voice. He had all 4 microphones.
Shut the fuck
pointed at his mouth. He was buck naked eating Cheetos. His penis was orange. I don't know what was going on. I said, are we doing a podcast or
You're
not?
Lucky I put my dog away. You're lucky I just put my dog away.
Tell me he doesn't like to hear himself.
I just put my dog away. You're such a dick. Fuck.
I had a dream about that. I'm sorry. That's how I saw you. Go ahead. What are we doing? What's your printout say?
Fuck. I printed this out.
Cheetos.
I didn't print this out. I have it right here in the book. It's straight from the book.
Straight from the book.
You
big book thumping.
And I read this the other morning, and I actually, I may have to find another sponsor if my fucking sponsor don't start answering me when I fucking text. I end up having to text Pat, and because I got, you know what? And here, this goes back to my my ADHD or my self-gratification is when I read something and I want an answer on it, I want that shit right fucking now. And God damn it, you better answer.
Hey, right here.
Right there.
Because I'm looking at it, and then because you have that automatic response, I'm driving with focus turned on. I'll see your message when I get
Motherfucker, look at when I first texted you that morning.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
I responded.
It doesn't matter.
But you had focus.
So I'm trying to get to the exact stop, being still inexperienced. So right here at the beginning of page 87, what we used to be the hunch of an occasional inspirational gradual.
You read it like shit.
All right, fuck you. Being still inexperienced and having just made a conscious.
Let me do it from fucking.
Yeah, you do it.
You're terrible.
I am.
Let's talk about the 10th step, by the way.
Right. Yes.
It says here we ask God, this is as you're going through your day. It says, going through your day, in thinking of our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration. Anytime you ask God, that's prayer, honestly.
Right.
Yep. Either aloud or internally, doesn't matter. He's pretty sharp. We ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought or a decision. We relax and take it easy because we're asking in faith.
Mm-hmm.
We don't struggle. Again, faith.
Right.
We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Being still inexperienced. This is someone who's just, early sobriety. They had doing their step work. Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it is not probable that we're going to be inspired at all times. We may pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it.
Right. So the part that's on that starts on the bottom of 86 in the first paragraph of 87. So I had read this. I mean, there's highlights and notes all over it, but the part that got me is
Absurd.
No, you're absurd. The part that got me is says we might pay for this presumption
with absurd actions.
With all of our sorts of absurd actions and ideas. And I got to thinking about that, and I started reading that, and I'm like, you know what? I need to talk to Rob about this and get some more explanation in this. And one of the things you always say is words matter, right? Words matter.
Absolutely.
And I texted Pat, and I said, hey, I read this? I said, I read this morning, and I'm having a little hard time because when it talks about we might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd ways. I'm like, what does he mean by pay for that? And, because, and then Pat texted back and he said, Larry, I've had the same, I've ran into this same paragraph. It's funny that you bring that up. And he goes, what they're talking about is what?
Go ahead. No.
What he goes, what you got to remember is that he's talking about when people first come to know God.
This relationship, right?
So, and when I say this and I say words matter, this is what I mean by that. Because in that one sentence it says, being still inexperienced and having just made a conscious contact with God. In my thought process is because if you go back to the beginning of that, it talks about on awakening, let us think about the 24 hours a day ahead, right? So when I put that together and I go, so when I looked at that and when I read that, to me it was, I just got done praying, right? And don't be careful about your assumptions and blah, blah. But when Pat says, no, that's new people that are beginning to know God.
And I'll give you an absurd one. You want to hear an absurd one. I'm not going to give you a name. You know the gentleman, but I'm not going to tell you. This is early sobriety, right? And because trust me, when you want an answer from God, when you're seeking a sign, keep this in mind. God can do all things. I know. A sign from God. If you look hard enough, you'll fucking find it. Right. So he was talking to God. He had a decision to make, and let's just say right, left, right? And he goes, God, I can go one way or another. We're going to call it right, left. I just need a sign to know which way you want me to go. Which direction you're going to bless. And the next road sign he saw was the deer crossing, right? There was animals crossing, and the deers on the sign were going from right to left. So the deers are going left. So he calls me up. Rob, I just got here. He was telling me this morning, I just got a sign. After I prayed that for God to give me a sign, I saw the deer crossing sign. They were going right to left. So God's want me to go left. I'm like, motherfucker.
That's some serious overthinking.
But that's what we do. I mean, do we not?
Yeah. When you're that's horrible.
Or you'll be listening to you'll be really in. I mean, these people are really looking. I mean, they're trying to walk with God. Right. They're trying to find that deep in that relationship. Right. They'll hear God in a song. God spoke to me through maybe, but be careful. Right. Test all things. When you and that's why brotherhood is good to bounce things off of people.
Yeah. That's why, like I said.
But here's another problem I have another brother. You know him too. He'll have something. Man, I want to go. Man, I want to go right. I really want to go right. But I'm going to ask all my brothers, and 15 of them say go left. Man, come on. The 16th one says go right. Then there he goes because that's what he wanted to do.
Right.
And
so why ask?
Because hey.
My brother, confirmation?
Someone co-signed my bullshit, but they don't,
Right.
So you got to be.
Well, I mean,
that's just spiritual immaturity is what I'm talking about.
So we talked about it last week, right? We talked about it last week, and I'm not for sure when this is going to air about my decision to go to that new company. I mean, we said this all the time. What happened? If God opens the door, what do? You
walk through it,
kick that sumbitch down, and go. Right. And, when I started thinking be still in experience and having right here where it says we might pay for the presumption and all sorts of absurd actions.
Okay,
and
the gentleman who asked the 15 guys and all his brothers who were spiritually fit said, man, go left.
Right.
He found
we all see it.
He went to, when he goes to the one, hey, man, go right.
Right.
Oh, I'm going that way because that's the way he wanted to go. Yep. It was a fucking stupid decision. Right. It cost him his sobriety. From his decision. Then he come back, humble himself. Now, it doesn't always do that, but that's the absurd action that it takes because the guy with the road sign didn't need to go left. Should have stayed on the road he was at. It cost him a job. He paid for that
retarded decision with that absurd action there. But let me ask you a question though, Rob. So do you think he was not listening to God? Do you think because
he wasn't waiting on God?
All right.
He gave God an ultimatum. Hey, God, I don't want to go left or right. He should have stayed on the road. And then he saw a road sign, deer crossing. The deer's going from right to left. So God telling him to go left. No, it's not. It's not. Now, can God use that? God can use anything. He's God.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But man,
right.
Let's be honest. Come on.
Yeah,
but God is inside of us. That still small voice we can hear. If we shut up, if we get our shit out of the way and listen, we know.
So, in my answer to a lot of that stuff, God's going to make a path God's going to make a path for you if it's where He wants you to go. Now,
and He's not going to cloak it in darkness.
No, and the other thing He's not going to do, He may not make that fucker paved. He may not have golden bricks laying beside it.
Usually mine have not been.
No.
Because I won't learn that way. I won't appreciate it that way. I won't get
right back to what
because
we
at the end
talked about
at the end of that road,
right.
I need to be a certain type of man for the next journey, for the next test for the next job He has for me. Mm-hmm. I need to be that certain type of man.
Yep.
And I'm not going to be that type of man. And God don't fail. He does not fail. No. And I won't be that type of man if my road is paved. Right. I have to have a certain amount of bumps and go through them and have certain mistakes. And I'm going to make mistakes along the way. Like going through cancer was amazing.
Right.
The things I've been able to do, having survived cancer, and like my Dr. GY from Old Memorial, he sends people my way who are getting ready to go through it. Mm-hmm. And I also sponsor.
I was going to say, you still do that quite a bit. Huh?
Yeah. I work with people who are getting ready, and I can tell them this is the shit I did right. These are the things I did wrong. These are the pitfalls to look for. Right. And I get to be of service that way. But I had to go through that bumpy road, and God brought me through it. And, or else who are they going to listen to?
Right.
Why would they listen to me? You haven't walked this path.
Isn't it amazing what God does in our life?
When we let Him, even sometimes when we don't let Him. But when we do let Him, and just
Rob, that's what I was just getting at. You know, one of the things I was talking about with somebody else. I was with Chris all day and his sister, and I said, you know, that's amazing what has happened in my life when I just ceased fighting.
And surrender. Surrender is not throwing in the white towel, giving up and go sit on your thumb. No. It's we relinquish authority. We are still in the fight. I'm being a military man. Right. I'm still in the Army. Or I was a Navy man, but I'm still in the battle. I'm just not the general.
Right.
God is. Right. I'm just a foot soldier. I'm grateful for that.
But that also doesn't make us to where we have to walk around with our head down, just following the goats in front of us. No.
You'll trip if you walk with your heads down.
Right.
You got to see where you're going.
I mean, that is the biggest thing where I think so many people misunderstand that when they say, well, you got to give it all over to God. Well, I can't turn this over. I can't turn that over. I can't turn this over.
I just turn the results over to God.
What do you mean? Explain that a little bit more.
Turn the results over to Him. Listen. Throughout our day, there's not a lot of fucking mystery. Let's be honest. We know what the next right thing is to do.
Yes.
Right? But we get scared like, okay, I got to go up and get Chris. The results are His. I'm going to go have this conversation. Right. Man, I sure hope she takes it this way. Or I sure my boss understands me this way. I don't give a shit.
Right.
The results are His.
Yes.
I need to go do the action. If I want spiritual growth, I need to do the action.
And you've said this, and I'm sure I've heard it from other people. He's going to bless you no matter what you do, right?
Well, it depends.
Okay,
what you're talking about, I know what you're talking about. I heard a pastor, this was a great sermon. And this is something I've experienced in my life when, people get stuck. And this is because what I tell all my guys, God, do never stop moving. God hits a moving target.
Absolutely.
Waiting on the Lord does not mean sit in your chair with your thumb up your ass, doing nothing, waiting for God to open the door. Get up, open the door. Yeah. Get up, walk. Give it up. He will light your path. He will do things, but as long as you are not, to the best of our ability, right? We're not screwing the dog or kicking the neighbor or vice versa.
Doing the right thing.
You're doing your best to live godly life.
Doing the next right thing is
to the best of our ability. We are going to fail and fall, right? But as long as you are doing that, go left. Man, I see there's a job opportunity, Lord. I'm going to take it. This guy's came and offered me a job. I like it. It's better pay. I'm going that way. You don't have to ask His permission.
No.
And that road's going to be black. But see, a lot of people will just, when I tell them not to wait, go. Hey, Rob, it was the right decision. Going left on the East Road was right because that road's blessed. No. The East Road is blessed because you're on it.
Yep.
He's blessing His Son, which is you, and that's why that journey's blessed. Not because the asphalt is blessed. You're being blessed. Right. So you want to go right? If you're living the best you can, And man,
he's going to bless that.
He's going to bless that because he's blessing you.
Yep.
And those around you are going to be blessed because of you
100%.
and your proximity to him.
That's a great.
So move, people.
Right.
That's the whole thing. Do not stay put.
And it's not just in life. I mean, and once again, I'm going to take this back to recovery. Take it right back to what we say.
Yeah, but this is for anybody. Anybody.
No.
When you're
I
one of us, if
understand
you
that.
want a deeper relationship with God, it is not going to come through sitting in your room.
Right.
On
You're not
your
going to get struck by a bolt of lightning.
You get out and do action.
Right. And it's once again, it's where I was going, but it's the same way with this recovery. If you just walk into a room of AA, which we're not affiliated with
at all,
if you just
or
walk
STDs.
into a room,
no letters.
If you just walk into a room of AA and sit there, you're not going to recover.
It's not the meetings we make. It's the steps we take that get you sober.
You're not. I mean, I had once again.
It doesn't come through osmosis.
No, talked about this yesterday, and I actually had to explain it. I had to say, you can be sober, but you're never going to have sobriety, right? And she was like, it's the sister that she has no fucking clue of my conversation with. So
she doesn't know how blessed she is.
And you're such a fucking dick. And I said something, and we were talking about it. And I said, well, you may have been sober, but you didn't have sobriety. And I'd said it one or other 2 times. And finally she says, what do you even mean by that? Well, I had a chance to explain that to her. I'm like, listen, you could go without alcohol for a week or 2 and you're going to be sober, right?
Yeah. Physically,
you're going to be sober, but you're going to have 0 sobriety.
Yeah. And
I said, what Chris got out of Maynard's up there is he learned how to have sobriety. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to continue to work on, because right now he has sobriety and I want to do everything I can to get that. So, but what he has to do is that action, right?
Yes, do that action.
And one of the things we started yesterday, and I was actually going to have you do this on air because I was going to ask you to kind of help me kind of explain it. We got some time. I'm going to go ahead and let this roll, but to the end this, I'm going to ask you a question here in a minute, and I'm going to let you go.
Oh, shit.
Or let you start on it, because I know you enjoy explaining this stuff. So I'm going to let you go. Let you explain it. But
he's going to let me get that shit. God, he's going to let me.
You know what's so fucking funny is literally as you were getting ready to say it, I heard it in my own fucking head.
I know.
So
hey, we're working on it. It's growth, baby. Better. Spiritual growth.
I'm going to ask that you do it, right? So,
and I may or may not fucking do it.
And anyways, I was walking with Chris with his first 2 steps yesterday, which are just acknowledgments, observations, whatever you want to say it. So we were talking about that, and we were kind of starting to work on talking about the 3rd step and blah, blah, blah. But when I was explaining in the very beginning, I said, this whole thing, what comes down to the action steps, right? Which is 4 and 5, 8 and 9 and 12. That's our action steps, right? Because he was having a hard time with, turning it over to God, right? We talked about
That's
that.
The easiest part, though.
For you and me.
No. Working through the steps. Then, which podcast it was, when I asked Jake, because turning your will and life over to the care of God is turning your thinking and your actions over to Him. And you do that initially by doing the next 9 steps, 4 through 12.
Right. But Rob, you're also understanding that some people with the ego that he's got is still having a hard time realizing.
Right.
When you got me, I was ready to turn it over to somebody else, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He is not at a point. Well, he knows he's got a problem.
He got sober in June, so the alcohol is gone. He's starting to get physically better.
Right.
He's physically starting to get better. He's like, man, I think I can do this, because the human ego is amazingly resilient.
Amazingly. Trust me, I know. I still fight it. That's one of the things we talked about yesterday when we first started working with this, is that he's going to have to let that ego go. He owned his own company. He's a very wealthy man. His ego's got to go by the wayside, right? At
times it will, and at times, but we got to get. Well, of course we do. I fight it.
Right.
Look at me.
It's funny.
Anyway,
my son-in-law saw that picture of Instagram of you and me, and he goes, I didn't realize how short Rob was.
Well, 5'7", looking at 6'3", it's short.
That was funny. Anyway, so we started walking through that. He struggled with that a little bit, but as I explained to him, I finally just looked at him. I go, do you believe there's anything more powerful than you? And he goes, yeah. And I go, well, then just turn all this shit over to that.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Whatever that is,
we'll
that is
get
right
to
now.
the more explanations of whatever. I
Exactly.
mean, that'll all get defined.
Yeah.
But right now, just realize there's something.
And it may be the group. A lot of people come
Right.
in, they don't want nothing to do with God. The group of drunks, GOD, group
Right.
of drunks, good orderly direction, good old dad, whatever GOD means to you.
So I think that kind of hit him a little bit. So he realized that, that to get rid of that ego and to realize that you're not, I mean,
Right.
he can't do it. So so my point where I was getting ready to is, and I want to hear it from you a little bit because, it's been almost 3 years since I walked my steps, and you explain it very well, Rob. One of them, I'm going to pay you a compliment.
Listen to this.
Fuck you and listen. Shut up and listen and take the compliment like a man, would you? I mean, one of the things Rob does very, very well, and is he explains for me, you explain the steps in a very, very human nature and very logical way. I'm a logical thinker. I need to see it, hear it, feel it logically, right? And you explain it very, very well. So I'm getting ready to start the 4th step, and people have heard us say this quite a few times. Oh, the 4 steps where the work comes in. Let our audience, let our listeners listen, have you explain what this 4 step really is, right?
Okay. Well, because if you go to page 60, we read it every day. When you read how it works, right? Our Script the Alcoholic, Chapter Agnostic, our personal adventures make clear 3 pertinent ideas, right? We read this every day at every AA meeting. A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. That's step 1. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. That's step 2. C, that God could and would if he were sought. That's also step 2. Because the next sentence says what? Being convinced we're at step 3.
Right.
And then it kind of breaks down to step 3. Goes to page 62 because Bill's trying to convince you of your problem. You go to page 62. The word self is.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I know you're getting on a roll, but you always tell me words matter.
Words matter.
You said that Bill, at this point, even after going through 1 and 2, and you're going to talk about step 3, that Bill is still trying to convince an alcoholic they're an alcoholic.
Oh no! Now he's getting ready to tell you what your problem is. I mean, our dilemma is powerlessness,
right.
But our main problem is selfishness and self.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Is the root of our trouble is selfishness and self-centeredness. Where that word self is on there 3 times, there were 13 times, I believe, on that page 62. At the bottom it says, most good ideas are simple, and this concept was the keystone of the new and triumphal arch through which we pass to freedom. That freedom is from self, is from you.
Right.
100%. Because he's getting ready to get to top of page 64. Now, again, then on page 63, it says more. Well, it actually says, you go to page 64. After you do the 3rd step prayer, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, let's do the 3rd step prayer. You got it on the board.
Yep.
It says, when we sincerely took such a position, this position that God is going to be our employer, God is going to be our father, God is going to be our boss, whatever makes you feel comfortable. I prefer father.
Yep.
That's the role I put God in.
Okay.
You want to say boss, employer,
right.
Whatever. And whatever God is to you. I mean, I'm not going to force my God on you.
Right.
If you want one, he loves you, but whatever. All sorts of remarkable things. We had a new employer, being all powerful. He provided what we needed if we kept close to him and performed his work well.
Right.
Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. As we felt, this is step 2 still.
Right.
We haven't done the 3rd step down prayer yet. This is true, as we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of his presence, we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter. We were reborn. Holy shit.
That's powerful shit. That's some powerful shit.
We were now at step 3. Many of us said to our maker.
Hold on a second. I don't
go ahead.
Pause.
That is powerful. We were reborn spiritually, of course.
Correct. And I really want any of our listeners that are new to this, that don't understand this.
Look at the goosebumps.
I get it every time.
13 and a half years into it,
right.
goosebumps. Because I know that power.
If you didn't hear what he said, please try to read page 60, the bottom of 62 through 63 on that right there. That's what he just read. But go ahead, Rob. Okay,
now you do the 3rd step prayer with the gentleman. And the most powerful one I've done, they're all powerful. I mean, I always, because I know it by heart, so I grab their hands and I don't want them reading and thinking. I just want them just to listen.
Right.
And we pray. But one time, me and Jason, who's going to be here, I will ask him about it. Me, him, and Charlie, we're in Perco's doing this. I said, "You ready, Charlie?" Because I was helping Jason sponsor. do the step work. And he said, yeah. So 3 men got up in the middle of Perco's at 8:00 at night. People looking at us on our knees in the floor, holding hands, doing
Probably drunks in there.
Well, probably. We didn't give a shit because we were ready to, we did this prayer. This is the 3rd step prayer. It says, and Bill obviously had the King James Bible because he writes all his prayers in Old English. Yeah. It says, God, I offer myself to thee today to build with me and to do with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self, which was our problem in 62, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. It's never about us. But now, and it says at the bottom of that page, it says, next, we did what, Larry?
We got to work.
Launched out. Listen to the language. We launched out. It doesn't say in a week from now. Right. It doesn't say a month from now. It says the next action you fucking take after this prayer is you launched out on a course of vigorous action. But why does it say that? Turn the page. I'll tell you why it says that. It says which may have never. Okay, it says next we launched out on a course of vigorous action. The first step of which is a personal house cleaning, step 4, which many of us have never attempted. Though our decision, step 3, was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless what? At once, not tomorrow, not a week from now, at once followed by strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which have been blocking us. Then it goes to my favorite sentence of the whole book. So if you want that 3rd step prayer to come true, the book says the next thing you need to do is get into action. Action. Or it will have no permanent effect. And that action is a 3-step inventory, is a fear, is a resentment list, because resentment is the number one offender. What is resentment? It is, it's a Latin word. It means to refeel, to feel again, to keep feeling. Someone pissed you off and you're burnt up and you won't let it go. That takes out alcoholics more than anything. That's why it's the first inventory. Right. Next is a fears inventory, because there's no such thing, like we've talked about, there's no such thing as a healthy fear. A healthy fear is just an unhealthy faith. Right. It's not that they're not going to come up. We just don't live in them. Right. We got to be free of. Then the next one is a sexual inventory. Because if you're going to find, we're human. And if you want 3 things that's going to fuck up a human, that's going to trip us up, resentments, fears, and sexual problems. Right. Come on. Yep. I may be 5'7", but I got up. Anyway. Come on.
Hey, hold on a second. You said your favorite sentence in the whole book
is on page 64.
Read it.
Well, right after what I said was that the 3rd step would have no effect. It doesn't say no effect. It would have no permanent effect, if not at once, followed by strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Our liquor, here's the next sentence, by the way. Our liquor was but a symptom. So we had to get down to causes and conditions. If you go to page 103, it says that our bottles were just symbols. Same thing. But our liquor was but a symptom, and that's highlighted different. So we had to get down to causes. And so it tells me and anybody else, whether you're an alcoholic, drug addict, what that tells you. When Jay had me read this 3 times, and I started, I've shared the story. The
That's
ugly
what
tears,
I was trying to get you to
the ugly
talk
crying,
about.
and that snot
That's
coming
what
down.
I was trying to get
That's
you
what
to
God,
talk
when
about.
God gave me the revelation that I wasn't the man I was and didn't behave the way I did because I drank and used. Right. I drank and used and behaved the way I did because the kind of man I was. Right. Alcohol and drugs are not your problem. You are.
Yep.
But because I didn't have a drinking problem, I had a thinking and a Rob problem, a heart problem. But I needed the steps to reveal that and God's power to restore that.
Thank you, Rob. I wanted you to. I heard you.
And that's what the steps. And that's what these are. And once you look at it, once you do this, and if you do it honestly, really honestly, look at yourself. That's who we don't.
Thy own self.
Everybody's got mirrors, and women got mirrors, and we all got mirrors in our houses. But do we really look at ourselves like this? Right. I never had.
But then it talks about there, and it gives you a great explanation. And it talks about later on, right down from that, it talks about a store owner doing inventory, right? I mean, if you don't do a monthly, weekly, daily inventory,
get rid of the bad.
Think about if you had produce, right? And you have produce sitting out there, and you just kept piling more and more produce on there. That stuff on the bottom is going to be rotten, sour,
and you're
nasty.
Going out of business.
Yep, and you're going to go out of business because nobody's buying all sour, nasty produce. Right. And it gives that explanation. And it's the same thing for us. If we don't do that inventory, that daily inventory, for us now, it's daily, right? It's daily.
Oh, yeah.
But for a new alcoholic that's starting to go through these steps for the first time, look, Chris is 56 years old. So he's got to go back 56 years and start pulling out these resentments.
You know, and get to clean
Right.
house up to this point.
Right.
Do the best
He's
can.
got to go back and
Yes.
clean up some fears, right? He's got to go back.
Resentments,
He's never been
fears.
married. He's never been married.
Doesn't mean he doesn't have some sexual inventory.
No,
he's
that's
gotta
my
work
point.
on.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, he's never been married. So who knows where that's going to go, right? So, I mean, that's why I want to get him, started on the steps today, because I'm going to be gone for the next 2 weeks. That's going to give him plenty of time to get these the steps before going.
How free do you want to be?
Right.
Get that
So,
shit down.
and, I mean, obviously, trust me, if he called me up and I'm in Yuma, Arizona, he calls me up and says, I'm ready to do this 5th step, I would be here. It takes me about 4 hours to get home on a flight. I'd be here in a heartbeat. Would not hesitate 1 ounce. Right. It's one of the pleasures I got of the company I work for. They absolutely know 100% where I stand with working with other men. All right, Rob. Well, damn it, dude.
We're done?
We covered an hour, brother.
Nice.
I told you, we get started on going down some of this stuff. I mean, I could jump into a whole other topic and start talking about something else, but I mean, we covered, what I wanted to talk about, which was Chris, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to, because a little bit of that affected me. And I think what's really hard is for Katie and my daughters and stuff that, when they see dad hurt, they still go back to, oh shit, is this what's going to cause dad to drunk? Yeah. Right.
They don't understand.
They don't. And I can't explain,
and don't try to just keep living. Keep living it.
One of
they'll see it.
Katie says, I don't worry about that. I know it's not going to cause you to drink. And Katie said it this morning, right? Katie doesn't want to see me get into that depression state of mind, right? She recognizes it. She's very, very cautious of it. But what she needs to be, and I assured her this morning, I sure the fuck ain't going back there.
No, fuck that.
1,000% am I putting myself back in a fucking situation?
Well, and you know why? You're not going to go back there, because I can see it, because look at the actions you're taking.
Oh.
And again, if this is for anybody, not drunks, not drug addicts, not whoever listens to this, whether one of us or not, if you want a relationship with God as you understand him, whatever that is, it is not going to come through sitting in your room on your knees praying. I'm not saying they don't do that. No. It's going to come through action. It's going to come through self. Yep. That's the way I've seen it. Self-sacrifice for others. And that's where it comes in, because you're not going to go to drinking because the actions you're taking.
My brother Brad said it last week, and I know he may have heard it or saw it somewhere else, but it's funny is he said it, and then I saw it come up on a meme or something, and it says, I recover out loud so other people don't suffer in silence. And that's
I like that.
That's powerful. I saw that, and it's so true for me, is that I recover out loud so other people don't have to suffer.
And there was a comment. There was a comment on the YouTube channel from that one we were talking about, the first one about California sober.
Right.
And the comment was this: I gave up whoever made it. I gave up my right to chemicals peace of mind a long time ago, no matter what chemical.
Right. I'm glad you get on there and read those on the YouTube. I don't get over to those.
That's why I listen.
Right.
To the podcast.
That's where you go. Yeah. I mean, we're on every podcast, and I watch.
So yeah, but think of that.
That is pretty.
I gave up my right to chemical peace of mind a long time ago. Right. No matter what chemical.
And that's what. Yeah.
And again, I don't need it. For me, I've got God. I've got these steps. I've got this. I don't need that anymore. I don't need anything. If I want to be calm, I know how to get there.
You know what, Rob?
If I want peace, I know how to get there. It usually takes action.
And what the old character defects that I have is I still find myself gritting my teeth and going, I'm going to fucking do this, right? And then I realize
willpower.
And then I go, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, I don't need you. Hey, Lord, could you help me on this?
Here, take this. I don't want this shit.
It's too heavy.
Fuck that. You're my guy. I was explaining this yesterday to Chris. I got a great relationship with God, and you can have yours whatever you want. But my God, when I fuck up, he slaps me over the head and goes, "Hey, you stupid fucker, don't do that again." That's how my God talks to me, right?
He said the same.
He is not a gentle, loving man in a white cloak for me. That motherfucker carries a big old fucking hammer, and when I say and do stupid shit, in fact, what I just said, he's mad at me for saying it that way. He lets me know. Right? Yeah. I don't need you to tell me I fucked up. I don't need anybody to tell me I fucked up.
That spirit inside me lets me know.
Where I feel like a piece of shit when I fuck up.
And through action, I work it out.
when I talk to my wife poorly, when I talk to my kids poorly, when I do any fucking thing that I shouldn't be doing, any fucking thing, my God is going, Larry.
Well, my spirit will say, the spirit of inside of me says, how fast you want to go sleep tonight? You might want to clean that fucking mess up right now. You might want to eat that crow hot, son, because you ain't getting no sleep tonight. Because I'm going to be right there for you.
Here's the difference between you and me. I can fall asleep no matter how fucked up I am because I'm so fucking tired by the time I lay my head down. My problem is I wake up at 12:30, 1 o'clock with that shit just fucking eating at me.
That's what I mean. That peace of mind. You wake up, okay. And now I can't call that guy. I've done it. Which early sobriety. I won't do it again. Now you're sitting there with it. I just can't wait for 6 o'clock so I can call him. Hey, I need to make amends.
I have done it.
Man, what I said to you.
It happens to me so often that I'll wake up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock and go, fuck. And I should have dealt with that before I went to bed or dealt with it.
And that and that's spiritual growth. Because we don't let that shit happen next time.
Mr. Rob, I'm
all right, buddy.
Get the fuck out of here.
Let's
Thank
go.
you, brother.
You ain't got to go home.
You just got to get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
Thank you for joining us today.
We hope you learned something today that will help you.
If you did not, come back next week and we'll try again.
If you like what we heard, give us a 5-star review. If you don't like what you heard, kiss my... You can't say that, can you? Anyway, if you don't like what you heard, go ahead and tell us that too. We'll see what we can improve. We probably won't change nothing, but do it anyway.
Hey, thanks, Rob.